A small plaque, displayed in both the Earth United Council chambers and the new Valdorian Senate, summed up the lesson that would reshape galactic civilization. The greatest strength lies not in being powerful, but in being adaptable. The greatest victory comes not from defeating others, but from helping them grow. The greatest empire is built not through conquest, but through cooperation. Lessons from First Contact, Earth Standard Year 2024. First Contact gone wrong. The Valdorian invasion fleet emerged from quantum space at the edge of the solar system, their sleek crystalline ships reflecting the distant sun's light. Fleet Commander Nix stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dawn, admiring the formation of 5,000 warships, far more than necessary, according to analyst Velox's calculations, but Nix believed in overwhelming force. Begin Phase 1, Nix ordered, her cybernetic interfaces pulsing with command signals. Deploy the electromagnetic pulse satellites. Let's blind them before they even know we're here. The first sign that something was wrong came 3 minutes later. Commander, the sensor officer's scales had turned pale. The EMP satellites, they're not responding. In fact, they're gone. Nix of Artificial Eye zoomed in on the tactical display. Where the satellites should have been, there was nothing but debris. Before she could process this information, another officer spoke up. Multiple objects accelerating from Earth's moon. Their commander, they're moving at 0.15 light speed. Impossible. According to their intelligence, humans had no such technology. Nix opened her mouth to order evasive action, but it was already too late. The kinetic kill vehicles, simple tungsten rods accelerated to relativistic speeds by hidden mass drivers on the moon, tore through the first line of the Valdorian fleet. 30 ships vanished in silent flashes of light. Full shields, Nix roared. Battle formations. Where did those weapons come from? The answer came not from her crew, but from every communication device on the ship simultaneously. A human voice, speaking perfect Valdorian. Welcome to Sol System. You are experiencing our first line of defense. Please consider your next actions carefully. The breach crew froze. The humans should not have been able to breach their communications, let alone speak their language. As if reading their thoughts, the voice continued. Yes, we've known about you for quite some time. Those primitive radar satellites, they're decoys. We tracked your scout ships 3 years ago. We've been preparing ever since. Nix's tactical training took over. Launch the fighter squadrons. Begin the approach to Earth orbit. More ships accelerated from hidden bases across the solar system. But these were different, manned vessels, their designs unlike anything in the Valdorian database. They moved with impossible agility, using gravitational slingshots and solar wind currents in ways that defied conventional space combat doctrine. Second wave of human vessels approaching, reported the tactical officer. Their commander, they're using our own quantum field technology. Nix's scales turned gray with shock. The classified reports had been right. Humans were quantum compatible. But rather than being simple biological resources to be harvested, they had somehow reverse-engineered salvage technology from the scout ships. The human voice returned, "Your stealth systems are impressive. We've incorporated them into our own designs. Thank you for the inspiration." The battle devolved into chaos. Human ships, despite their apparent technological inferiority, demonstrated tactics that the Valdorian combat computers couldn't predict. They used the sun's radiation as cover, turned asteroids into weapons, and employed suicide drones that attached themselves to Valdorian ships before detonating antimatter charges. Commander, the sensor officer's voice shook. We're detecting multiple quantum signatures from Earth's surface. They're activating something. Massive ground-based cannons, hidden beneath what the Voldorians had dismissed as primitive nuclear silos, opened fire. These weapons didn't shoot conventional projectiles. They fired concentrated beams of quantum-entangled particles that bypassed Voldorian shields completely, having been specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in their defense systems. How? Nyx demanded of no one in particular. How did they know our shield frequencies? The human voice answered with what could only be described as amusement. We didn't just study your scout ships, Commander. We studied your transmissions. Your quantum networks are impressive, but they have vulnerabilities. We've been listening to your battle plans for months. In less than an hour, the mighty Voldorian fleet had lost 300 ships. The humans hadn't just prepared defenses. They had specifically designed countermeasures for every Voldorian technology. Nyx made the hardest decision of her career. All ships, emergency quantum jump. Retreat to Rally Point Alpha. As the surviving ships fled into quantum space, the human voice delivered a final message. Next time, try asking nicely. We're actually quite friendly when people don't try to invade us. Back in the Empire, analyst Velox received the battle report with trembling hands. Her perfect analysis, her guaranteed easy conquest, had turned into one of the worst military disasters in Imperial history. But the true shock came from the detailed scans of human technology. They hadn't developed their defensive capabilities over centuries like other races. They had done it in 3 years, specifically to counter the Voldorian threat. The humans hadn't just defeated them, they had outthought them, adapted to them, and turned their own technological advantages against them. And they had done it all while maintaining the facade of a primitive civilization. The Empire had not just underestimated Earth's defensive capabilities. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for innovation, adaptation, and deception. And now they had to face a terrifying question. What would these humans do next? The human factor. The Voldorian high. The tables turn. The Voldorian Empire's worst nightmare materialized in the form of an invitation. Not to surrender, not to negotiate, but to attend what humans called a cultural exchange symposium. The location. The recently constructed Quantum Nexus station orbiting Jupiter, a marvel of engineering that shouldn't have been possible for centuries. Admiral Cax, the Empire's most decorated warrior, stood at the station's observation deck, his cybernetic implants struggling to process what he was seeing. Human ships danced through quantum space with impossible grace. Their designs an elegant fusion of Voldorian precision and human creativity. But it wasn't the ships that disturbed him most, it was the humans themselves. "Would you like some tea, Admiral?" asked Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's chief xenodiplomat. "We've modified it to suit Voldorian biochemistry. Your people's cellular structure is fascinating, by the way. We've learned so much about quantum biology from studying it." That was the problem with humans, Kex realized. They didn't just defeat you. They studied you, understood you, and then tried to make you comfortable while explaining how they did it. The station itself was proof of humanity's terrifying potential. In the space of 18 months, they had not only mastered quantum engineering but improved upon it. Their neural quantum interfaces were generations ahead of Voldorian cybernetics. Their energy efficiency ratios defied physics as the Empire understood it. "Your civilization," Kex finally spoke, "was supposed to be primitive." Dr. Chen smiled. "We were. That's what made us dangerous. When you have to climb up from the bottom, you learn every handhold, every technique, every possible way to improve. Your civilization's problem is that you've been at the top so long, you've forgotten how to climb." The displays around them showed Earth's expanding influence. Human quantum technology was spreading through the galaxy, offered freely to any civilization that wanted it. Their ships were appearing in every sector, not as conquerors, but as traders, teachers, and explorers. "We're not interested in empire," Dr. Chen explained. "We're interested in growth, everyone's growth. Your invasion didn't just teach us about quantum technology. It taught us about the galaxy's potential. And now we're going to help everyone reach it." A new galactic order. The final meeting of the old Valdorian High Command took place exactly one standard year after their failed invasion. The agenda: discussing humanity's latest proposal, the Galactic Cooperation Initiative. High Commander Thax, his cybernetic parts now upgraded with human quantum tech, a gift he couldn't refuse without appearing afraid of progress, addressed his fellow commanders. "They're offering us everything. Technical knowledge, cultural exchange, trade agreements. They're even offering to help us stabilize our quantum networks." "In exchange for what?" asked a younger commander. "In exchange for learning," Analyst Velox answered, her scales now decorated with both Valdorian and human academic honors. "They want us to teach, to share, to grow. They want us to join them in exploring the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as pioneers." The final recordings from Earth's surface told the story of humanity's true victory. Valdorian language was being taught in human schools alongside Earth languages. Restaurants served fusion cuisine combining Earth and Valdorian dishes. Entertainment networks broadcast shows created by joint human-Valdorian production teams. "We didn't just lose a war," Velox concluded. "We lost our understanding of what victory means. The humans never wanted to defeat us. They wanted to include us. And in doing so, they've achieved something far more powerful than conquest." The evidence was undeniable. Human quantum ships were now protecting former Valdorian territories from genuine threats. Human scientists were solving problems that had plagued the Empire for generations. Human cultural exchanges were bringing prosperity to worlds that conquest had failed to improve. In the end, the Empire's greatest defeat came not from Earth's weapons, but from its ideas. The concept that progress came not from domination, but from cooperation. That strength lay not in superiority, but in diversity. That the greatest power came not from controlling others, but from helping them grow. The final message from Earth's United Council to the Valdorian Empire consisted of just 3 words: "Welcome to tomorrow." Decades later, young Valdorians would ask their elders about the time they tried to invade Earth. The answer would always begin the same way. "We thought we were teaching them a lesson about power. Instead, they taught us a lesson about progress. The galaxy would never be the same." And that, as humanity had known all along, was exactly the point. The assessment. Strategic Analyst First Class Sarah Velox stood before the Valdorian High Command's crystalline viewing screen, her iridescent scales shimming with pride. After 3 cycles of intensive research, she had finally identified the perfect target for the Empire's expansion. A seemingly unremarkable blue planet in the outer spiral arm of the Milky Way. "Esteemed members of the High Command," Zyra began, her voice resonating through the chamber's perfect acoustics. "I present to you System Sol 3, locally known as Earth. Our long-range scans indicate a Type 2 civilization with minimal space presence and rudimentary defensive capabilities." The assembled commanders, their biomechanical augmentations gleaming under the chamber's soft light, leaned forward with interest. High Commander Thax, his ancient cybernetic eye wearing as it focused, raised a scaled hand. "Elaborate on their defensive capabilities," Analyst Velox. Zyra flicked her wrist, and the holographic display shifted to show Earth's military assets. "Their most advanced weapon systems rely on chemical propellants and crude nuclear devices. They have no planetary shield, no quantum artillery, and their space vessels can barely reach their own moon. Their most sophisticated defense satellites use primitive radar technology that our stealth systems can easily bypass. A murmur of appreciation rippled through the chamber. This was exactly the kind of target the Empire had been seeking. Resource-rich, strategically located, and seemingly defenseless. But what if their population? Asked Subcommander Krell, always the cautious one. Numbers can sometimes overcome technological disadvantages. Xeriscales rippled with amusement. Approximately 8 billion individuals spread across 7 continents. However, they are divided into nearly 200 different political entities, often in conflict with each other. Our analysis suggests they would be unable to mount a unified defense. She advanced to the next display, showing Earth's various military forces. Their armies still rely on ground vehicles with mechanical treads. Their air forces use atmospheric craft powered by combustion engines. Their naval vessels float on water. They don't even have basic anti-gravity technology. High Commander Thax's cybernetic eye pulsed with interest. Resources. Abundant, sir, Zyra replied eagerly. Freshwater, rare minerals, diverse biosphere, all right for harvesting. But most importantly, she paused for effect, they possess something unique. A remarkable concentration of quantum-compatible biological organisms. This revelation caused even the most stoic commanders to stir. The Empire's quantum networks had been struggling with degradation issues for decades. If Earth's organisms could be harvested and processed for quantum stabilization, it would solve one of their most pressing technological challenges. What resistance should we expect? Thax inquired, already seeming convinced. Zara displayed a simulation of their standard conquest protocol. Our models suggest a complete planetary subjugation within one standard lunar cycle. Their most powerful weapons would be useless against our shields. Their communication networks can be disabled with a single electromagnetic pulse. Their military installations can be neutralized from orbit without risking ground forces. She moved to her conclusion, confidence radiating from every scale. This is a textbook opportunity for expansion, esteemed commanders. A Class 3 invasion force would be more than sufficient. We can secure the planet with minimal casualties on either side, making resource extraction more efficient. High Commander Thax rose from his seat, his ancient frame towering over the younger officers. You've done well, Analyst Velox. Prepare a detailed invasion plan for my review. Sub-Commander Krell, begin assembling the invasion fleet. We will bring these humans into the Empire's embrace, whether they wish it or not. As the commanders filed out of the chamber, Zira allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. This would be her crowning achievement, the easiest conquest in recent Imperial history. Already, she could imagine the accolades, the promotions, the recognition that would come with such a successful campaign. If only she knew that her most basic assumption, that technological superiority guaranteed victory, would prove to be the Empire's undoing. For in her meticulous analysis of Earth's technological capabilities, she had failed to account for humanity's most dangerous weapon, their unpredictability. Deep in the quantum data streams that transmitted her report across the Empire, a single human phrase lay buried in the ancient archives, unread and unheeded. Necessity is the mother of invention. The Valdorian Empire was about to learn this lesson the hard way.